Hello, I'm Dave March, the Spy Guy, and I'm kind of intercutting in a little early to talk about a couple updates to the channel here. Yeah, so I want to first thank my new subscriber, Night of the Rose 98, I believe. Double check. Yes, Night of the Rose 98. Welcome to being a subscriber. Thank you. It's very nice to see the numbers kind of trickle up and like means a bit. So thanks for joining in. So what happened? The big update is that when I started off this thing, I wasn't too sure. I actually thought I was going to talk about spy movies and spy stuff and spy books. And you know what? Maybe I'll do that. Add that to a little to the end of the stream. And it's not a stream. I do this over in Zoom so I can get the background, and then I, depending on the situation, I might throw it through a video editor or not. I'm not as doing that as much as I used to. It would create a bit quality, but not that. It takes a little time for no particular reason. And yeah, so but when I first started, I did like a couple videos, and then I kind of got myself into this weird place where it was like doing like my take on the news. Like I was like Tim Pool, and I was swearing a lot and getting into things, and it just was against the brand that I wanted to, that I've started feeling like I'm building here, and like just being nice and being a little bit more raw and truthful, but I don't need to be swearing and screaming. At the movie Allied, that's a 4 out of 100. And when I go back, I'm going to go back and do a new fresh review on that where I'm not as insane as I was in that one. And I had other videos where I was just talking about like China and the pandemic response and all the other things. And it was just like, it's like, that's not what we're doing here now, or what I'm doing here right now. What I'm trying to do here is like give an impassioned movie goer, TV show goer viewpoint on movies, and especially in a little different than most of you guys you're probably listening to. I joke I'm to the right of the tail of the Hun. I don't really want to bring politics to this too much, but it kind of skewers my focus. You can get a little bit of my take on that one if you have watched my Utopia review, because looking back on it, it looks like a lot of people hated that thing because it was making fun of the Google culture and all that kind of stuff, and making them really look bad. So they didn't want to give a show that made them look bad any kind of positivity. And yeah, so I'll give you my honest take, and I'm not going to cut too much into politics, but I'm just wanted you to know that. So I had these videos on my thing, and I'm like, what am I going to do with these things? Should I trash them? Should I do them? So I wrote to my sometimes co-host over at the Nerd Report, and I said, Lewis, what do I do in this situation? And he's like, put them on private, and then those videos will still count towards your your watch hours, to your likes and all that thing, all the positive stuff. But you don't actually, no one will be able to see it, but you and or people you send the link to, and that's fine. So thanks, Lewis, for giving me that piece of advice, because that'll help me out in the future. But yeah, so that was kind of what I was talking about then. Now let me see. Do I have anything I can just randomly open up? Covert operations source book from the top secret. Sometimes the green screen is not helpful with this. So the top secret covert operations source book, volume 2 by John Prados. This is for a role-playing game that was made in the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s. So let me find it. 1988. So the Cold War was still happening at the time, and it was a top secret SI. It was like the early 8 days of Dungeons and Dragons and all these other things. You had like very few good games, and they're not as great as they are now. They're not play tested and aren't understanding. They were just still figuring out all the stuff they were figuring out about games. So one of the games they ended up making for TSR, which was the guys who created D&D, Gary Gygax and all that, that was their game, that was their company for a while. And then there was like real drama behind the scenes that should be made into a movie one day, where Gary Gygax's wife takes over the thing. And it's all, if you're a gamer and you want to see some of the hints of this, go read Knights of the Dinner Table, where they go into all the drama that happened in there, and of course they hype it up. So like their guy's Gary Jackson. Gary Jackson's got like a was seen had his own private jet, and he's got supermodel girlfriends and deals with the mob. It's hilarious. Anyways, getting back to Top Secret SI. Top Secret SI was an attempt to make like a James Bond style role playing game, and then and that's very much so it's much more a bit more realistic in its approach. They did have spy gadgets. Their premise was like a man from Uncle style organization that you would be joining, and you would be fighting against like the other organization. Can't remember the name. I'll get more into TSI and into the Top Secret SI in another video. But what they ended up also doing is, for reasons, they hired a guy named John Prados, who is a professional historian who writes on intelligence matters, and he's also done game designs. He's done all sorts of work. Consultant in the intelligence community, way more better off than me, who is kind of like a gifted amateur, but I still go to those conferences too. So what they did was they brought him in, and he wrote 2 books for covert operations source books. And unlike anything else you're probably getting at this time, which was all fantasy, science fiction, fiction stuff, he actually wrote how spy organizations work, the operational structure of these agencies. It was like a real book for people to understand how spying works and how the intelligence operations work. And went into the history. The first book is about the CIA and the KGB, and it goes into the structures of the time, how they're organized, what they do. Then in the later books, they go into, in the second book, they get into the different organizations. So British intelligence, French intelligence, the GRU, which is so the first book is the KGB, which is the big organization, but GRU is the Soviet military intelligence group, and they go from sometimes being in favor in the Soviet Union to out of favor, and they have a professional level. I don't want to say they're professional level, like the KGB was professional level, but the KGB was like a separate army, and these guys were in the army. But there's like stories of their base, that the only way you could only leave the base 2 ways, on your feet or up the chimney. And then they also have files on Israeli intelligence, the Soviet bloc intelligence services, and the West German intelligence service. And then they have a bunch of espionage case files. And in one of my other videos, we went and looked into one of those. And then at the end, operating areas: Berlin, Soviet Union, United States, and Vienna, and just kind of giving you what happened there. Because in the Soviet Union, they would have entire cities that were off the map. You could only see them from space, from open skies and satellites. They could not be actually seen on the ground. So it was a state secret to know where these cities are. If you watch Tenet, you would know some of this stuff. That's a big part of that movie. Or, it's a part of that movie. And just, these are things that we all know about. And the book finally would bring to the average person, the average gamer who wanted to play James Bond, and then would be exposed to like the real deal. And if you wanted to run a game set in like with real spies doing stuff, this was very like D&D in the 80s is for kids. It's maybe college kids. Now here we are, we think of it differently. I was just going through another site I belong to, and this guy is doing his D&D review. He's in his 50s, late 40s, 50s. I know people playing D&D in their 90s, right? And now we're getting to see this happening here. So maybe I'll get my Top Secret SI out, and I'll start doing some videos talking about Top Secret SI and more about what's going on in that series. And we can just start doing more and just do like, I don't know, a 10-minute video update on Top Secret SI. I mean, I need to get it. put 9 videos to private. I need to start doing some stuff on that regard. But really, this is kind of my raw take. I wanted to welcome my new subscriber. I wanted to talk more about what happened, why my videos just dropped out of the face of the universe, and I wanted to talk about, and I just remembered Top Secret. So yeah, that's been this has been my latest little update video. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, and see you later. Bye bye.